Greetings Cornerinos and welcome to another Ian's VR Corner. Now at the time of producing this video, the PSVR section of the PlayStation Store is listing just over 300 VR compatible games and experiences, and that's just on the UK store alone. Each region has its own exclusive titles too, and with more and more games appearing on these stores each week, that number's only going to keep rising. So what if you're a new adopter of VR? What if you've tried VR at an expo and decided to pick a unit up? Or what if you've already tried every game I've mentioned on previous episodes of Ian's VR Corner and want to experience something a little different? Well, that's where this video comes in. The following video highlights 11 hidden gems on the PSVR that you might have missed. Games that I think deserve your attention, even though they've long been buried under all the new releases. There's a little bit of everything in this video, from horror games to sports games to a game where you get to play with a kitten. So buckle up Buttercup and get ready to find out all about 11 of the best PSVR games you might have missed. In my opinion. Wipeout: A Mega Collection is one of the finest PSVR games available, so if you're a fan of VR and sci-fi combat races, chances are you already have that game permanently installed on your PS4's hard drive. But maybe, just maybe, you've played it to death and fancy something similar, but different. Well, that's where Radial-G comes in. Radial-G is like Wipeout, if the tracks in Wipeout were twisty-turny tubes rather than your standard twisty-turny flat tracks. Now, while this may look and sound like a recipe for Vomitus Maximus, the clever cockpit design does a great job at making this excellent racer feel comfortable, even for relative newcomers to VR. It's fast, frantic, it looks lovely, and just like Wipeout, it has a cracking electronica soundtrack. So go get it in your face and ears if you're gagging for a bit more adrenaline with your VR. I kind of hate it when people say X is the Dark Souls of X, but In Death really is the Dark Souls of VR, so that's me finally becoming something I hate. Yay! Not only do In Death's procedurally generated levels with their spooky church-like aesthetics feel like places you might stumble across in Lordran, but the roguelite elements make this game one of the most challenging but ultimately most replayable shooters available for the PlayStation VR. The slow, tense nature of the bow and crossbow only combat can take a little bit of getting used to, and the way the game gets harder every time you play it, not easier, will frustrate some. But if you're fed up with short VR games and want an incredibly atmospheric archery game with plenty of scares, In Death will deliver that to you in almost infinite amounts. To the Top is one of those games that's easy to pick up and play, but hard to master. But oh my word, when you do, is it a thrill. To the Top is basically a VR climbing simulator that's been turned up to 11. By simply grabbing hold of anything blue in the level, you can fling yourself towards the finish line like some kind of parkour powerhouse. The trick here is to keep your momentum up whilst you explore the increasingly imaginative levels, and really there's nothing quite like the feeling of successfully flowing through each level at top speed. With plenty of tracks, hidden collectibles, secret areas and time challenges, this one won't get boring in a hurry, and best of all, controlling the game isn't as strenuous as it looks. Get the movements right and you can launch yourself forwards with just a flick of the wrist, which makes climbing even the most extreme of obstacles feel effortless. I Expect You to Die is a perfect blend of escape room puzzling and dry, pithy humour, and it's a great little game to have in your collection, especially if you're new to VR and after some experiences that aren't too strenuous on the old inner ear. The premise is simple. You're a secret agent tasked with foiling a series of fiendish plots, and you have to work out how to solve these increasingly complex puzzles without dying. And die you will. A lot. Thankfully, the more you die, the more you learn, and there's nothing more satisfying than the feeling of puzzle pieces finally slotting together in your mind as you formulate a solution. Each little puzzle room is more imaginative than the last, and some of the twists the game throws at you can genuinely make you panic as your carefully laid plans fall apart. Sadly, I Expect You to Die is relatively short, and most people will probably be able to get through it all in only a couple of hours. But as polished PSVR experiences go, I Expect You to Die is up there with the best of the bunch.
No ticking is good ticking, as they say. Now, can we please focus on getting the car out of the plane?
The only reason I even know about Dreadhalls at all is because of word of mouth from the VR community. That's because Dreadhalls is hidden away within the spectacularly rubbish Herocade compilation, a pick-and-mix selection of VR oddities that delivers you 9 VR games for under £10. While none of the other games in the collection are worth even more than a brief go, Dreadhalls more than makes up for the price of entry. Now, considering the graphics are rather basic, you'd be forgiven for thinking it looks a bit dull, but the haunting atmosphere brought by the sinister sound effects really does send shivers down your spine, especially when you run into the Weeping Angel-style statues that only move when you're not looking at them. The thin, claustrophobic corridors, procedurally generated levels, and the feeling of being stalked makes the panic set in fast. And I'm not joking, at times this can be one of the scariest games on PSVR. That's why those who have managed to play it speak of it so fondly. Oh, and it also reminds me a little bit of that old ITV show Nightmare, so that's always good.
In a grey place, far beyond these walls. A place where we have no eyes.
This next pick is weird AF, but I like weird AF, so say hello to Konrad the Kitten, your very own virtual kitten friend. Konrad the Kitten is one of the strangest games available for the PSVR, and its appeal is certainly going to be rather limited. But that doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, I think it's kind of the opposite. Think of Konrad the Kitten like a VR Tamagotchi. You're supposed to play it once a day for about 10 to 15 minutes in order to feed, clean, and pet Konrad so you can collect coins that you can then use to buy new cosmetic items like hats and sunglasses. It's an experience that may be best suited for the younger cornerinos amongst us, those who maybe desperately want a pet but don't have room, or those of you out there who just want to chill out, forget about the big bad world outside, and look after something cute. Graphically, it's not too much to look at, but the Konrad model is nice and detailed, and you can tell that a lot of love has been put into making the game, even if things do look a little bit odd at times. Oh, and if you have a stuffed toy handy, you can even attach a Move controller to it, so you can pretend that you're holding and stroking a real kitten. Aww. Hey, Konrad, do a barrel roll. You don't have to wait for Marvel's Iron Man VR to come out if you want to use virtual reality to indulge in your superhero fantasies. Megaton Rainfall gives you the power of flight, the ability to shoot things from your hands, and a bunch of scary space robots to fight too. Being able to fly from the surface of planet Earth up into space, then back down again in order to destroy huge alien machines that are ravaging Earth is cool as hell, especially once you unlock the ability to be able to bring those monsters down with a powerful pink Hadouken. A word of warning though, Megaton Rainfall does have a rather bizarre move control scheme that is awkward as fook to use, so make sure you stick to using the DualShock if you want to get the most out of this game. Oh, and try to be as accurate as possible when you shoot at things too. Your blasts are so powerful that they can level entire buildings, and the resulting casualty figures flash up on the screen as you hear the inhabitants scream in terror. Wow, thanks for making me feel guilty, video game. Sometimes you'll play a VR game that's just so beautiful and unexpected, it'll leave you speechless. And this next title is one such example. Bound is as close as you'll come to being able to stuff your entire head inside a work of art without the threat of getting thrown out of a museum. And while the slow, linear gameplay may grow tiresome to some, those of you who want to experience an incredibly original and at times very emotional assault on the senses need look no further. Presentation-wise, it's flawless. The performance capture and the animations of the ballet dancing protagonist are top-notch, and the way the levels are built up around you from pulsating blocks and fragments of colour gives the whole thing a dreamlike quality that you won't forget in a hurry. If you like games with explosions, guns and sweary words, Bound probably isn't for you, because in this world all the threats are subdued by the power of dance rather than being destroyed by weapons. And it's exactly this graceful quality that makes Bound so great, so unique and so memorable.
Those rippers will tear us apart once our shields drop.
You got
Bound to Blood is another great example of VR developers using the platform to try something a little bit different. And here they're mashing game show style arena combat together with ship management mechanics similar to those you'd find in, games like FTL. Set in a future where huge airships battle for dominance and cash, you'll captain one such ship and by doing so have to manage its resources and its crew, all while using your gaze to aim and fire huge cannons that are situated on the deck. Oddly enough, for an arena combat game, Bound to Blood is single player only, but that doesn't stop it from having a colourful cast of characters to fight or make friends with, depending on how you want to play or how many points you want to hoard for yourself. I will admit it does take a little while to get to grips with everything that's going on here, and especially when you're learning the ropes, it can feel a bit like spinning plates. But with a procedural campaign and a neat risk-reward system that means no two playthroughs are ever the same, any potential champions of the arena are bound to get a lot of bang for their buck.
I'm a big deal. I know.
Keep it clean. One round. Ready? Fight!
To all intents and purposes, Knockout League is Super Punch-Out come to life in VR. This bright, beautiful boxing game is packed with tons of personality, great graphics, and some very tricky opponents. Unlike Creed Rise to Glory, this is more of an arcade boxing game rather than a sim though, but still, playing Knockout League is going to give you one hell of a workout. Combine all the ducking, diving and dodging you'll need to do in order to avoid the attacks of the fantastical foes with the exertion of having to unleash your own fancy fistwork upon them, and you'll be steaming up your visor in no time. Each combatant has their own crazy moveset that you'll need to memorise before you can finish them off properly, and this can get a little aggravating at first, but when you eventually get to land that knockout blow, well, there's no rush quite like it. So, Red Matter here is the only game on this list to have featured in a previous episode of Ian's VR Corner. I did my best to keep all the selections in this video fresh and feature games I'd not brought attention to before, but I just couldn't help giving this game another shout out, especially seeing as its late release date just stopped it from appearing in my top 10 PSVR games of 2018 video. If this had come out even a week earlier, it would have been an easy contender for a place in the top 5, and that's down to its incredibly gorgeous presentation, brilliant VR puzzles, and the ingenious way the developers were able to give a sense of weight and heft to digital objects that don't exist in real life. It's some kind of sorcery, I tells thee. It may be a relatively short game, but the locations are so well realised it's incredibly easy to forget you're in VR at all. And oh my word, don't get me started on how well they did the glass in this game, because it's amazing. If you own a PSVR, Red Matter is 100% something you need to play, if only to experience just how good-looking and immersive virtual reality in PSVR can actually be. And there we go, those were 11 hidden gems on the PSVR that you might have missed. As regular viewers will know, I'm all about spreading the love for VR, so if you have a hidden gem you think your fellow Cornerinos should play, whether it's on PSVR or PC platforms, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, do give it a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more Ian's VR Corner every Sunday on Eurogamer, and do enjoy exploring virtual reality. Goodbye.
The world has changed. It's been ripped apart by an unknown force.